welcome to my 2024 book review. I read 184 books and I'm here to talk about it. Before I start my review, I just want to rewind the clock just a tiny bit back to September of 2023 when I started my reading journey. So this is all thanks to my sister. She was the one who heavily encouraged me to get into reading, and I'm forever grateful for her for doing that. Because prior to September of that year, I'd read maybe one, maybe two books really since I had graduated high school, and I just never had any interest to do so. But then for my birthday, she bought me some books and was like, you need to read these. And then finally I had a day off, decided I've got nothing else on, I'll give it a read. Now the book in mention that I read is actually right up here. It was Fourth Wing. I finished it, reread it, got addicted, and here we are. So from September of 2023 up until December of that year, I think I read around roughly 48 books, which I was mind blown by because I was immediately like, this is something I enjoy thoroughly. I need to get more. I need more books. I need shelves. So then when we hit January 1st, I knew, I was like, let's go. I want to try and hit 100 books. And I did. I actually managed to hit my 100 book goal by my birthday, which is the end of July. And that for me was crazy because again, I had only read like 3 books prior to getting into my book journey. So again, forever grateful for my sister, because without that I wouldn't have this beautiful collection of books and a very addictive hobby to read all the time. So without further ado, let's get into the review. I have some stats written down. So of course I read 184 books. Crazy. And out of the 184 books that I read, I only DNF'd, did not finish, 7. That's wild to me because I thought that I had did not finish more books than that, but I think deep down there was at least maybe another 5 to 8 books that I desperately wanted to stop reading, but part of me was like, just finish it, you're already so close to the end, just get it done. I will just clarify, I don't want to have a higher DNF rate for next year. I think I just need to trust my gut and know this isn't the book for me, it's not worth my time, when I know there's a better book that I could be reading that I will enjoy more. That's not to say that the books that I DNF'd you might enjoy, someone else might enjoy, they're just not my cup of tea, and that's cool because reading is subjective. So out of my 184 books that I read, 12 were rereads. Some of them were from the 2023 books that I read, but majority of them were books that I had read earlier in January, February, March of 2024, and then reread them once I hit kind of September, October, November, because in my head it'd been long enough and I was desperate to go back to that world, and so I went running. So 12 books I reread, and I'm sure the next year will probably be higher because the more books that I read that I love, the more that I want to reread them again and again and again. Pages I read, according to Goodreads, I read just over 69,000 pages. That's also insane to me. I don't want to know the word count because I think that will freak me out. So let's just say lots of words, lots of pages, a lot of books. The average book length was 375 pages for books that I read. I feel like that's pretty standard. Most books these days are roughly 330 pages, I tend to find. My average book rating, again, this is Goodreads, so it's not counting my in-between ratings that I personally give. But according to Goodreads, my average rating is a 4.0 stars out of 5, which I think is great because that means I've read some fun books. And my biggest reading month of 2024 was December, which was very closely followed by January. So December, I read 22 books, and in January, I read 21 last year, which is wild. And out of my 184 books that I read last year, 7 of those were ARCs, which is crazy because I couldn't believe I even got access to those. So again, another one of my 2025 book goals, fingers crossed, is that I get access to more ARCs. I loved reading them. It was so exciting, and reading new authors, new works, oh, it was so good. And the anticipation of waiting for them to be released, and for people like my sister and my friends to read them and seeing their reactions, it made it so worth it. And I will say 2 of the books that were ARCs are on my top 10 of 2024. So you never know what you can find, and it was so good. Without further ado, let's get on to my top 10 books of 2024. I do need to preface that there's actually more than 10 books in this list, but who doesn't want more books? And technically when they were by the same author, it doesn't count. So there is technically 10 different authors. So in no particular order, this is my top 10 books of 2024. Starting us off with a bang, we have 4 books from one author, Miss Mariana Zapata. So I adore these books to the end of the world. I will reread them every chance I get. So these 4 books are Wall of Winnipeg and Me, All Roads Lead Here, Culty, and Gracie and the Grump. I just want to reread them again. They're incredible. I cannot recommend them enough. If you love a good romance book that has the best written slow burn you could ever have, these are the ones. And this is why I could not pick one Mariana Zapata book. She had to have 4 on the list. And again, I'm counting these all as like one of my top 10 because they're so good. But look, I could talk about Mariana Zapata books forever. I cannot recommend them enough. Please read them. The next book in my top 10 of 2024 is Act Your Age, Eve Brown. This book is so cute. It is so funny. I don't even know how I stumbled upon this book. It was like a fluke accident and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It had me in stitches. I have a video up already of me reading this book and it was so good. There's a reason it's on my top 10. You should read it. I read it and I already want to reread it. The next book in my top 10 of 2024 is Lights Out. This is a dark rom-com and it is so funny. Oh my god, it was such a funny book. I definitely need to reread it, but specifically I need to hear the audiobook because I hear people talking about the audiobook being even better than the actual book, which for me, mwah, chef's kiss. That is amazing. That is brilliant. That's another one of those books that I stumbled upon by accident, purely from actually Bryn Weaver, who posted something about it, and I was like, if Bryn likes it, I'll give it a go. And yes, I absolutely love it. It's so good. The next book in my top 10 of 2024 is 2 books, but it's a duet, so it counts. We have Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Now, these are incredible. There's a reason people tell you to go and read it, go and read it, go and read it. The characters are phenomenal. I want them to be my best friends, even though I'm not cool enough for them, but it is so good. It's such an addictive read. Once you're in, you're completely hooked. And if you're anything like me, you might be absolutely devastated crying on the floor of your kitchen reading the second book. But that means it's incredible and that means it's amazing and it's so worth the heartbreak and the pain. And I can assure you that once I have emotionally recovered, I will be rereading them again because they were so good. The next book on my top 10 of 2024 is Bride by Ali Seward. This book is so fun. It was such a good read. As someone who loves reading paranormal romances, this was right up my alley. I knew within no time that this was getting a 5-star rating because I was hooked. And I've already reread this book twice and I have a feeling I'm going to reread it a 3rd time. And for me, that's incredible because that means I love the book. So if you like paranormal, it could be for you. It's right here for me. The next book in my top 10 of 2024 is Immortal Dark. Now this book is incredible. I was so lucky and got access to an ARC a few months before it released and I was so addicted. I was telling anyone and everyone, you need to read this when it comes out. You need to read this when it comes out. Please go get it when it comes out. And it's so good. It is addictive, and the moment that it did get released and there was an audiobook, oh wow. I'm telling you right now, that audiobook took it to another level. Like, I didn't think it'd get better, but yet it got better. Like, that's how good this book is and I love it and I cannot tell you how excited I am for the second book. The next book in my top 10 of 2024 is Not Another Love Song. Now this is so good. I absolutely love this book. It's another one of those books where I can't really remember how I found it, but the moment I started reading, I was so hooked that I finished that book in no time. And then also the moment I finished, I was like, you need to read it. You need to read it. Can you read it? Has anyone else got it? Can you read it? Everyone needs to read this book. Oh, it was so good. I think I'm gonna have to reread it. If you like a good Grumpy Sunshine romance with classical music intertwined, mwah, beautiful. It is so good. I absolutely loved it. And as a classical musical fan, it sent me into such a fixation of like cello and violin specific music. I need to read it again. The next book in my top 10 of 2024 is Just for the Summer. Now this book is a beautiful contemporary romance. It absolutely gut punches you, but it is so good and it is so worth the read. I need to reread it because I don't want to spoil anything, but there was a chapter that I read that I had my jaw unhinged and on the floor, and I think I just stopped and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, and now I need to read it again. Oh my god. See, the bookshelf's telling me, go read it, girl. What are you doing? Oh my god. The next book in my top 10 of 2024 is The Rom-Commers. Now, this book is so freaking beautiful. I absolutely adore this book. It was so funny and it's so good, and it is really that, like, the tension, oh my god. But it also did have me crying in the kitchen. So be mindful when you read this that it could absolutely devastate you in the best way possible. And I think about it all the time, and I think I'm gonna have to reread it, and I loved it. And the final book of my top 10 of 2024 is Double Agents Never Lie. Now, this book I had the beautiful pleasure of reading an arc for, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It is so good. It's so addictive. It will have you so hooked. And I'm telling you, the plot twists are plot twisting. They're flying all over the room. I was so gobsmacked, and no one's read it. It's so underrated. Why hasn't anyone read this book yet? Please add this to your TBR. Add it to your shelf. Put it on your Kindle now. This book is just so much fun, and I really wish I could explain a bit more about what happens in the book, but I'm too scared I'm gonna spoil something. So just know there's an FBI agent who is working undercover, and there's a lot that goes on, and it's so good, and I really need to reread it. It was so good. So those are my top 10 books of 2024. I love them all so much. I really want to reread them all, and I probably will. So if there's any book recommendations you have that relate to this, or even if it's something completely different that you think I should read, please drop a comment, let me know, and happy reading. Oh my god. If you hear dogs snoring, there is a dog asleep right below.